What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Moving the Needle with Jared and Brett. We are super excited to have everybody on here today. It's been a little bit of time since the last time we had this podcast, but we're super excited to get right back into it. Just to give a little bit of an update on everything, last month, Brett and Erilyn came to the Bay Area to celebrate my 26th birthday. Super fun. Had a really great time having you guys here. Got to go to the Pumpkin Patch Parade in Half Moon Bay and just spend good quality time together. So that was a lot of fun and look forward to doing it again very soon. And yeah, it's been about 3 or 4 weeks since our last podcast. So Brett, would you like to kind of maybe break down some of the things that's going on in your life, some things that you'd like to update people on or update me on if I haven't heard it already?
Yeah, obviously it's been pretty crazy for, I know you specifically. We stayed in touch over obviously the last couple of weeks, but that's been crazy for you, but it's also been crazy for us over here. The big news for us, and it's going to be kind of my win for the podcast, obviously episode 4, super happy to be back. But our win is we actually got our second dog. So we are now parents of 2 dogs. So we have Rizzo,
family of 4.
Exactly. It keeps growing. Our first dog, Rizzo, he's a golden. He's about to turn 5 soon. And I think May is going to turn 5. So we got him probably 2 years ago from a rescue out from Turkey, actually. So it's this rescue called Tattered Paws Golden Hearts. If you guys don't know them or have never heard of them, go and look them up on Instagram. They're obviously super cool rescue. You're doing a lot for these dogs. They're coming from another country, obviously, but you're giving them a home. We don't know their background. We don't know like what kind of they went through, but obviously, we're here to support them and just kind of give them that new home, that new family, essentially. So we got him 2 years ago, I think, or just under 2 years ago. And then we got approved for our second dog. Her name was Magnolia. Her new name is Tori. We changed it to Tori, based off of Torrey Pines, San Diego. But we got approved for her, like 4 months ago now, I think, somewhere around in there. And then obviously took a little bit with all the paperwork and getting shipped out here, but we finally got here about a week and a half ago. So we've been parents of 2 for the last week and a half. So that's been our big kind of change of the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So that's why it's been super exciting. Lot of updates. Other than that, though, I'm sick. So if I sound congested or you see me blow my nose, I'm going to try to be quiet when I do that. But that might learn for this podcast, I guess, is just take care of yourself. You're going to learn that's a little colder in the desert than you really think. I think since I actually saw you, I've gotten sick twice. So this is either my immune system's actually just breaking down or this is the end, one of the two. So let's hope it's not the latter.
I think that one's a really big topic right now. Coming to the end of the year, there's a lot of stress going on. Q4 ending, and then we're getting into January. So really making sure everybody, do the things that you need to do. Get your good sleep, get good nutrition in, and then also get some good exercise in as well to strengthen your immune system. Super important. As well as taking supplements like a vitamin C or zinc supplement, something that you can really do to help strengthen that immune system. So hopefully you're able to get better very soon, but I think you're going to be on the mend pretty quickly.
It was well worth it. Erilyn's parents were in town actually last weekend. We saw Elton John, so that was actually pretty cool too. We went to the Elton John concert. Got to see his kind of final performance. At least he's not obviously done touring yet, but it was definitely a cool thing to see. It was sad at the ending. You don't really realize like he's been touring for 50 plus years, and it's kind of coming to a close. It's sad, but it was a cool experience, and kind of got sick from like that whole just weekend and things like that. So,
yeah. He'll be back. He'll be back, I'm sure, with another name or something like that, with a band or a group or some sort of collaboration. These guys can never like hang it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guess kind of a win and learn. I can piggyback off that. Win for me has really been just staying consistent. every single day, doing the same things in the morning, get myself primed and ready to execute and achieve everything that I need to do during the day. So that's been really, really helpful for me, making sure that I'm doing things that I love to do, things that I enjoy, spending time with people that truly add value to my life, is super, super beneficial for me. And as well as the people around me that I am able to interact with. So that's been super huge. Learns, really, really listen to your body. Last week I hit heavy legs and neglected to actually look at my calendar. And I actually forgot I had a soccer game that evening. With that, it resulted in a slight quad strain, upper quad strain. So currently I'm kind of on I'm on the IR list right now. So I'm just doing everything I can to get myself back into just being able to train, getting some steps in, in the form of marathon preparation specifically, since we do have that coming up very, very soon. But it's been really, really good. Other than that, I have a routine that I've been able to do in the evening. I schedule and plan out my next day's workout, get that a little bit more calculated and really making sure that I'm loading myself properly as we get closer and closer to the day of the marathon race. So those are some things that I've been, working on and have been helping me a lot. So
yeah, that's awesome. How's soccer been for you?
Soccer's been good. I had another team that I had been playing on before. That was like a community, like semi-professional, like UPSL team. For the last couple months, I have taken that off just because marathon preparation, in terms of like the window of what I'm personally working toward, that's taken the precedent and the priority. And then just one day a week, I'm able to play with my dad. Which has been super, super fun. I really enjoyed that a lot. Get my touches in, play with Duncan. It's a lot of fun. Heck yeah. Oh, yeah. So been doing that. And then, I do actually, another thing is I play in a little pickup soccer on Sunday mornings. Get out there at 8 a.m., just kick the ball for like an hour and a half. And then, I got the rest of the day to do whatever I need to do. So that's been really, really good. But, how awesome. About you? Like what have you been doing with training, and have you been able to get any soccer touches in?
Training wise hasn't been a huge, obviously, soccer. No, I haven't played soccer since I played this little Volo League in San Diego. So it's been a while since I touched a soccer ball. To be honest, I don't have anybody out here to play soccer with. There are connections probably around. If I go to a park, I'll find somebody to go and play with. But I think for me right now, I have other things that I want to focus on. I've been golfing a lot still. Golf's been super, super fun. That's kind of been my kind of way of pushing myself. I've set some goals myself for 2023 when it came to golf specifically. I actually did achieve my one goal of breaking 80 for golf. So I shot a 77, which is super, super cool.
So what does that mean awesome for people like me that don't play golf?
So it's essentially in a round of golf. Most golf courses are what's called a par 72, which is typically your average. It means that for your 18 holes, in order to complete those 18 holes to make par, which is like your the even par, it takes 72 strokes essentially. So for me, like based off my handicap, I've never broken 80 before. So on this course, my goal essentially for 2022 was to break 80. So I've gotten close. I've shot an 81 twice before, but I've never gotten to the point to where I've been able to break that 80. I've gotten close, just had these mental breakdowns, mental collapses where I've just had bad holes and just couldn't put shots together to complete that. And then finally this few weeks ago on this course out in Scottsdale, something happened. It was just, I was free, easy swinging the club, just no pressure, nothing, just hit shots and shot a 77 on a par 70. So It was good. I mean, I was proud of myself, obviously. Normally, it's kind of funny. I was sitting there on like hole 16 or 17, and I'm like, okay, I have a really good shot at doing this. But I kind of knew in the back of my mind, like, I'm going to find some way to fuck it up. It's just who I am. I'm going to come out here. I'm going to get on the tee box. I'm going to pull a driver, which somehow I've hit very, very well today, which is probably why I worst club in my bag. I'm going to pull a driver. I'm going to hit it OB and then re-tee and hit OB again, and I'm just going to ruin my round. And I maintained to just manage to just, keep it good all day, and got to 18, and I had 2 strokes to play with, and stuck at the 4 feet and missed the birdie putt to go even lower, but had the par, and it was pretty cool though. It was a good experience, and I was proud of myself because I was able to do something that I definitely in the past had struggled with. But yeah, no, it was definitely a confidence booster. So that's been kind of like my main push, and so continue to go lower now. When it comes to like kind of running and training, I actually did this really cool run with my coworkers. It's called Ragnar. It's this running company. They do a bunch of road races and trail races, and her team does this race every year in Arizona. They go around the country and do races. So they have a few other locations. They have some in Zion, Tahoe, LA, Texas, and all across the country essentially. So this one was a trail run. So essentially how it works is you run 8 laps essentially. So it's 8 laps, and each lap consists of 3 courses or 3 tracks, short, a medium, and a long. Your short one can be anywhere from 3 miles to 4 miles. Your medium, 4 to 5, and your long's going to be anywhere from like 6 to 8. So this one obviously was in Arizona. They were short some runners, so we ended up going up there and helping. But it's a 24-hour race, so it's a relay race. So if you and me are on a team and I start the race, I'm going to run the green. I'm going to pass it off to you, and then you're going to run the yellow, and then our third person is going to run the red, and so on and so forth. So you end up running a relay race like that for 24 hours, and obviously the goal is to finish. But it's a pretty cool environment, and it's one of those where you're camping out, you're sitting by the fire, you're sleeping in a tent, you're losing sleep, but you're doing it with people who you love and you want to be around, and it's kind of one of those group activities. So it's like a group suffer in a sense.
How many miles did you have to run?
So I ran the red one, which was it was like a 6.8 mile loop. Mm-hmm. So I ran it at probably 9:30 at night. Was when I started. Like pitch black. Nice. You have like a little headlamp on your head, and you're running in the desert. There's no lights. There's nothing. You got these little plaques on the ground that have a little red sticker and points with an arrow saying, "Hey, you run that way." If you run off the track, you're running in the desert. Yeah, it was so much fun though. So I texted you that, and I texted you that night. I'm like, "We're doing this next year for sure." But
I'm so down.
It was such a cool experience though. It was obviously it was cool because you're running. It's a big event. The people, everybody's so nice there. It's a good environment. It's a cool relay race, but like running in the desert like that, like at night, you're looking around, and it was so cool to like, obviously running on this trail, and there was about 320 teams, I think, total. But like there are times when you're running in the desert and you can't see anybody, but you look off in the distance and you just see these little headlamps just running around.
Did you stay at the Glamp site?
I did not stay so here's the thing. I didn't spend the night. We only ran one leg because they needed runners, but you could stay at the glamping site. We saw that site. I wouldn't recommend that one. It's not, I mean, if you don't have their stuff or you don't have your gear, I recommend that. But for us, like if you're you and me, I'd say we're camping out, dude. We're bringing our tents. We're doing this thing right. But yeah, I mean, they had their Blackstones out there. They had their Yetis out there. They had all these things.
Yeah, hit the griddle.
Cooking and living.
Yeah, hit the griddle in the morning. Thing looks really, really fun. I'm just pulled up the website right now, and just looks like another thing that I'd like to put on the tally of things that I've done for competition. So that's pretty badass.
We'll have to do the one in Tahoe.
They have one in Tahoe?
Yeah. Tahoe or Zion would be the cool ones.
Ooh.
Even Arizona.
Zion's, I'm down for that. You sign me up for the Zion one, 100%.
All right, I think it's real soon.
Okay, well, if it's like in the next month, then we'll probably have to wait to the next one.
I think it's in like 6 months.
Oh, let's do it. 6
All right,
months.
we'll build a team. We need
Perfect.
8 people. Well,
We need 8
I
people.
say 5 to 8. We'll say 5 to 8.
5 to 8. Okay. I'll
Yeah.
do some digging. Figure
I
that
got one
out.
more for us.
I may have 2 or 3 others. I think we'd be
Hell
good.
yeah. Let's do it.
But I guess kind of to jump into it, since you were talking about marathon training and whatnot, you mentioned it, and that's one thing that you said you've done is you did a competition just recently. You ran 6 miles in the desert. It's testing a little bit of your mental fortitude there. You're training you're running at nighttime. You don't know where your next step is going to take you. It's in pitch black. I mean, no matter what the distance is, that's still a challenge. That's still playing games and tricks on your head. So that's something that's really, really great. I'm happy you got to experience that and report that back to me so that we can actually do that too, because I'd really love to. But marathon training for me has been pretty good up to the last like 2 or 3 weeks. About 2-3 weeks ago, just kind of, I guess, hit a wall with the body. I don't think I was doing quite enough to help with recovery. And I was probably doing about 15 miles. I went from, doing about 20, 25 miles a week to like 10. So I kind of dropped off my running. I was still doing it, but I wasn't doing it as frequently or often. I was going to start doing some tempo, not tempo, but like working on my like 4x4, my 4 times 400 meters, and doing some more a little bit harder training sessions. Just I haven't even gotten into that yet, because last week was when I did a light strain on my quad. So starting to feel that a little bit. Working on really getting that healed up. I want to take my time just so that it's not a prolonged issue. Once we get into the marathon, month, I don't want to have any sort of unnecessary injuries or setbacks with it. So just taking my time to really get it healed.
That's awesome.
So it's been, it's definitely a bit of a journey, and of course things come up. It's never going to be a perfect introductory into a marathon prep. There's always going to be some little minor setbacks. That's just life in general. It's just how we're going to be able to adjust and get ourselves ready for that event. So
what's your kind of like your end goal for mileage that you're going to try to reach on a weekly basis, you think?
I think.
Have you thought about that?
Are you saying in terms of like the next couple weeks leading up to the marathon, like what kind of mileage I want to be doing?
Yeah.
So like really, I think the biggest thing is I want to be doing at least 2 5+ run. I want to do 3 5+ plus runs, miles a week, so 5+ mile runs a week, and then 1 interval day, and then one where it's just like I'm just jogging, at a nice like easy like nice good tempo, but going for like 2 hours, 3 hours, and just going for distance, testing the mental mindset and fortitude type of thing, because that is pretty much 90% of the run is mental. So I really want to tap into that, and I'll probably have to scale a little bit back on the lifting if I am doing that. So it's just a little bit of finding that balance, creating that balance act. Go ahead.
I was doing that this week, or last week, I guess. I was kind of mapping out. I think we're sitting at about 9 weeks out to the race. So kind of button up. I think my goal is I want to get to about 50 miles before that, obviously that marathon. So definitely have some more miles to add on to the total, but I'm sitting probably around the same where you're at, where definitely for trying to look for those, 3 or 4 days of some of those, medium to longer-ish runs, maybe with a few short runs here and there. Just keep the legs moving, and then obviously tempo run, and then have that day of long running. I'm definitely going to try to utilize those trails, because I know it can be kind of dull on the roads. I have found though that it's a lot easier to run on flat ground. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit easier.
Yeah, when you start doing the hills, your body, you maybe go on the same speed, but when you're hitting hills, you are exerting more energy going up those hills, trying to maintain that same speed. So yeah, I'm there. I totally understand where you're coming from. Even if I'm able to implement some sort of bike riding too, as long as I'm putting doing a cardiovascular exercise and creating some sort of good movement with that, I'd be completely happy to do that. So maybe I'll go on like a mountain bike ride or something like that. A little bit less impact on the joints, but still getting a good cardiovascular exercise in. So
for sure,
that's another possibility and way to do that for me as we get closer and closer to the marathon. But kind of transitioning, I did actually wrote down a couple questions I did have for you, just as someone who is in the professional workforce now, and then also in the position of, you just got a new puppy, you have all these things kind of happening in your life all at once. What does being present in the moment mean for you personally, like Brett Fuchs? What does that mean?
Present's obviously super important. I have a few takes on this, obviously, and I think the big one is obviously, like, you got to live in the now. You got to live in the current day. Living in the past, looking too far into the future. I would say not looking too far, but looking too much in the future can not necessarily get you into trouble, but it can get you into these moments where you're just like, so I'll start with the past, right? Obviously, it's good to learn from your past, but not to live in your past. It's kind of funny. Erin, in her old car, she had this little thing, ornament that hung up from her rearview mirror, and it was like, why are you looking that, or something along the lines of, why are you looking backwards? You're like, don't look backwards, you're not going that way, keep your eyes kind of forward. So along that same concept, right? And whenever she kind of gets in those little modes or whatever, I'll always kind of bring that up with her. But I think it's super important, right? You want to review your past, see what kind of happened, but not live in your past, because that's old. That's old news. That's already happened, right? Learn from it, grow from it, but move on. Take that knowledge and that growing and apply it to your present and your future. When looking into your future, I think it's good, right? It's good to set your goals. It's good to have these expectations, but to not look too far in the future, I think can be kind of like the difficult thing. When you look, I don't know. I've always been a big believer in that. Like, living in the present, living in the now are the things that you can control. You can't control what's going to happen 5 years from now, right? You can have your goals, you can have your ideas, you can have what you want to achieve, what you would like to be, where you'd like to be, but there are so many other factors that you cannot control that can throw you off, derail you, throw you off the rails. So to live on your now, take it day by day, have those goals, have those expectations, and obviously understand that, hey, if you don't meet that goal or things change along those lines, doesn't mean you failed, doesn't mean anything that went bad. You just got to learn and adjust from there. So I think that's something that for me, I've really, when it comes to, my future, right? I don't know what's going to happen 5 years from now. I don't know where I'm going to be 5 years from now. So instead of, becoming anxious and worrying about all these things, it's, I don't know what I'm going to do for the rest of the day. So why would I worry about what I'm going to do for 5 years from now? So let's focus on today. Let's have a goal. Let's have a goal set in mind, but let's focus on this, and let's take it day by day and kind of continue to go from there. So that's kind of the way that I look at the present, and try to stay in that present moment. It's helped me a lot, I think, because I've definitely been somebody who is looking to the future too much, and it messes with you. It can, because then you have these expectations. If you don't reach those, you feel like a failure, and it's the exact opposite. You're not. Things change. So
Yeah, and I think also stemming off that as well, one thing that's, I guess, a really, really huge topic as well is comparison, right?
Yeah.
You have kids that see these individuals that they may look up to, and they see that they're successful, whatever they're doing, either fitness or starting a business or some other thing that they're doing, and they look so far into the present of what that looks like for themselves, and comparing themselves to that individual, that they don't really, one, create that foundation that they actually specifically need in order to do that, but also they miss kind of for themselves the it's always good to take a step back and look at what other people are doing and
Yeah.
learning. That's a whole part of being human, is stepping back, learning and understanding how other people work. But when it gets too much into you're looking way too far into the future and you're not living in the present, and you're comparing yourself with others, and that's what's creating pressure on yourself, you're never going to find that true balance of working with yourself and building something that you really want to do, without any of these other stressors that are coming in. Does that make sense?
Everybody grows but at different rates, right? There's no script. There's no like by X, Y, by X date you're supposed to be here. By X date you're supposed to be here. By X date you're supposed to be here. All those dates are different for everybody, right? There's no one script that everybody follows. It's so to compare yourself to me comparing myself to you, or you compare myself to me, it's vice versa, right? You've gone through different things where I've gone through different things. Me comparing myself to somebody else, or these different examples, it's like comparing apples to oranges. It doesn't exist. I mean, we have similarities, we have our same things that we've done, but there's so many other factors too as well that we also haven't done. So yeah, I mean that.
Nice.
I'm a big believer in exactly what you just said. You can't compare yourself to other people.
Mm-hmm. Now digging a little bit deeper, I definitely want to dig in a little bit more to present. Now, we were talking about timeline present, in terms of past, present, future. Now I want to dig more into just the present in relationships and dialogue. Now, there's been a lot of, I've been doing a lot of reading, as well as, you don't have to be an absolute genius to realize this, that our social media networks that we use these days have created less and less of an attention span for young people, as well as older people that are on these applications. And I've definitely noticed that, and this is a reason why they're prospering so much, is, there's such small clips with such, I guess, like a reward center to their brain to watch it, that they're fiending for it after X amount of time that goes by without using it. And my point with this is being present in the moment with friends, right? Have you noticed or seen this in groups of people that you've either been with or observed from afar, where no one's really talking?
Yeah, I mean, I'd definitely say that I've seen that. I've noticed that. Like, I guess I'm trying to explain this in a different way. Like, when I'm with my friends, like I stay off my phone. Like when I'm with you, right? Like I'm on my phone with me. I never really check it. Like here and there, I'll check it. But it's I'm focused on you. I'm focused on hanging out with you. I'm focused on communicating with you. I just think that in different situations, I don't know. It's a difficult question. I don't really have an answer for you, I guess, is my biggest way of putting it. But when I see like myself, like I always try to make sure that when I'm around somebody who I truly care about, like I'm giving them my full undivided attention. I don't want them to feel like, oh, he doesn't care, he doesn't do this and that. But unfortunately, it's gotten to the point where like, we have our technologies, we have these forms of communications, instead of going to the park and kicking the ball around and hanging out, it's, hey, let's go play video games online together. And, not that it's a bad thing, right? I think technology is growing. I think technology has created this. And I think technology is going to continue to grow. But your human interactions are different now compared to when they were when we were younger. And I think that's the biggest way or the biggest difference.
Do you think it's for the better or for the worse?
I mean, if you look at, you can play devil's advocate with this, right? Like our parents told us how we used to hang out. Oh, we never had this when I was younger. It's us now looking at the younger generation saying the same thing to them. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I don't necessarily think it's a good thing. I just think it's the way that the world is growing and evolving. I mean, for me, I like that human interaction. I think that conversation between person to person, mouth to mouth, and in real life, to me is valuable because that's when you're going to really get to know somebody. You're going to really get to grow and meet and understand somebody. But I think that the way that technology has grown, the way that we're continuing to grow as a society, that this is becoming the social norm that you can meet somebody online in that same form.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's $1 million question. I think that in 15 years from now, the same kids who are doing what they're doing now are going to be telling their next generation that, oh, well, back in my day, we never had that. It's just, I think I don't know. It's part of evolution, I guess.
I think there's two things here that I'm kind of looking at. For one, right, it's the ability to go through a long period of time without looking at it. So it's that dopamine rush that you get just from using these sort of applications and getting these clips. You get all this information at once, and then you got to see what's next, and you got to see what's next. I can't remember where it was, but there was like something where they had noticed that for every 20 minutes someone watches Netflix, they tend to either pause or they're already on their phones watching. And then you see that kind of translate, or can see that translate into the real life of, maybe you're having one-on-one conversation with an individual. After that first 20 minutes, what happens? Is it the same? We're training ourselves away from everybody else, how we're going to react if we don't get that dopamine hit of going on our phone. So how does that translate to one? And then two, on top of that, right? I was watching this podcast, listening to this podcast, and they mentioned that they were watching or looking at their analytics, and they noticed that at the 25-minute mark, people stopped watching their podcast. And it's just that, like, people just lose their attention like that. And I think with great power comes great responsibility. These applications are able to add so much value, have changed so many people's lives, whether it be through monetization and being able to start their business through it, promoting their business, to giving them access to a network of people, which I guess in terms, I just said the same thing. But great power comes great responsibility, is probably the best way to coin it. So definitely very, very interesting. I'm very curious to see kind of how our youth and how people are going to continue to use it and how it'll change over time. I definitely know how I will do it and Maddie will do it when we eventually have kids, how we'll want to expose our kids to technology and social media. It's definitely different from when we were born with our parents. Yeah. It's definitely even more and more power at these kids' fingertips more than ever. So it's very, very important to be able to understand what your child has access to, but also creating the parameters of, times to use it and times not to use it, which in my opinion, the kids shouldn't really have access to like a TikTok or Instagram till they're like in their teens.
No, and I think that's like the big thing is to find that balance, right? Is this like, technology is always going to be there, whether they, wherever they go, right? Technology is always going to be there, but it's finding that balance to where like their life doesn't revolve around it. I think that's the big thing, right? When you look at this kind of aspect, is this what you're doing 24/7, 7 days a week, or is this something that, every once in a while you're going to do? And I think that's the big thing. finding those human interactions is going to be super important, right? And we've talked about this before, like sports, right? Like for us, sports is a big human interaction for us. I want to make sure that my kids are going to play sports because they're going to learn so many life lessons from that. It's going to help them grow. It's going to help them become a better person. They're going to learn, commitment, hard work, what passion is like, to find that something that they want to wake up, they want to do every day. Hardworking aspect of, when they don't want to go out there and they don't want to do that, but you're committed to this team, you're committed to this X, Y, and Z. I think those are the things that if we don't, I want to provide for my children essentially. So what I'm trying to say, I guess, and, finding that balance between both of, sports and life in reality. So it's definitely something that I know, like me and Aaron have talked about, right? How we kind of want to, eventually get to that point. But
actually that's actually a really great, I guess, segue. Like I do have a question regarding that. So Maddie and I, for example, we've grown up in the Bay Area our whole lives. I grew up, played soccer pretty much immediately, and grew up in, the Silicon Valley, the Bay Area. And, with changes in just, technology and all these things, not to say those things are bad at all, but just trying to create something that was maybe a little bit different from how we grew up. And we've talked about, raising our kids on a piece of property where there's land. I do want to teach and show children or kids the value of, working with their hands, building things, taking pride in their work, working as a team, with, maybe building something, maybe a chicken coop, for example. I do want to have livestock at the home that we will eventually live on. These are things that we've talked about and have thought about. Huh?
The Farmer Johnson.
Say it again.
Said Farmer Johnson.
Farmer Johnson over here, exactly. So these are things. Obviously, we want the kids to have local access to sports and everything else, of course. So we would never want to deprive them of anything like that. But also having that balance of, getting them to really understand kind of what it means to live on the land, as well as be able to provide for yourself. I think it's a really, really valuable lesson. That, my parents have had, they have friends and family that live similar lifestyles that we were able to, plug into for 1 or 2 days out of the year just to see how it was, but never got a full experience of it. And finding that balance of, farm life / living off the land, as well as that life of, taking them to soccer practice or taking them to whatever sport they want to be involved in, is something that, we've heavily talked about. But I'm curious to hear, we've talked about it a little bit, but, have you guys had that same thought? What are some of the things that you guys want for your kids moving forward that maybe you didn't get necessarily growing up?
Yeah. We've kind of discussed it a little bit. We're kind of definitely in line with a lot of the same things you guys have discussed, obviously, when it comes to how we want them to grow up, how we want them to be involved in certain aspects and certain things that we grew up with. I've honestly thrown the whole land idea out to Erilyn, and she loves that idea too as well. We obviously have different, we obviously depends on where we're going to end up, right? Depends on where we're going to be. That's going to be a big part of where we're going to buy and what we're going to find and where we're going to live. But, when it comes to that kind of that growing up aspect, we obviously want to provide for them the best. We want to make sure that they're comfortable, they're safe, obviously, but they're also still growing. And to your point, right, getting them involved in those things when they're young, they're going to be super important to help them grow up and become good people, help them be prepared for life. Because I think that's the big thing that, my parents said, and I'm so grateful for that, is just, they were hard on me, they pushed me, they provided me with these things to do. They were able to support me, whether good or bad. Even if I played good or bad, they were there for me. And you kind of don't really realize how grateful you are until you get to that point where you're older and you're like, wow, I'm so grateful for this opportunity that my parents were able to provide for me. And I think that's kind of when I look at that and I look at how I want my children to grow up, I want them to be, the same that I was able to grow up, but even better, and I think that's kind of like our goal. And I think we're both aligned when it comes to that aspect, specifically, whether that's sports, whether that's life, school, education, all those kind of things. So education, we're still kind of working out on, but we'll see about that.
Mm-hmm.
College.
Yeah, exactly. That's always a topic of conversation, and I think a lot of it has to do with one, what they may want to be able to get into, as well as does that college experience, is it really going to add value to them? Are they going to become a doctor, or are they going to do communications?
Well, bro, I was communications.
I know, that's why I said it. Just to. I'm just kidding. Yeah. My dad was a communications major actually too, so
this is why we get each other.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, communication is the median between all things. So, it's important everyone has good communication with one another. Unfortunately, hugely lacking in today's day and age. So it's very, very important to have that dialogue, to be able to discuss and have civil conversations with individuals, just like what we're doing now. So this is really, really great.
So if we get farms, are our farms going to be together?
Huh? Say that again?
If we have farms, are they going to be together? Is your farm next to my farm?
I sure hope so.
The Johnson and Fuchs Ranch.
Let's brainstorm. So where are some of the places that you guys have thought about having farms? Texas is off already.
You don't like Texas?
Oh, Maddie's not a big fan of Texas.
I mean, you guys have said Oregon, right? Up north? Or Washington?
Not Oregon. No? Yeah, Washington is one of them. Washington was one of them. Montana.
What about Idaho?
Another. I don't know. It looks
Idaho,
like a foot.
Wyoming, Montana? Huh?
Looks like a foot.
Yeah.
Looks like a pointy toe.
You don't see the foot. Yeah, but I got a pointy toe.
No, I don't know.
You don't see it.
No, not Utah.
I'm cool with that. I'm fine.
And we were looking at Colorado as well.
Colorado's nice.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, those are some of the spots. Dude, riding a horse is very, very fun. Maddie and I did that, and I loved it, dude. It was great. I mean, it's a trip. Like, if you've ever ridden an ATV, like, you're straddling like the seat on an ATV, and then now you're on a horse and it's like moving back and forth.
Yeah,
dude, being on a live animal is like, it's a nuts experience.
I finally had to wear my cowboy boots.
You have cowboy boots now?
Oh, I mean, I have them, but I never get to wear them, so I'll finally get to wear them.
Good man. Well, when you come, back, when you come back, or when I go out to Arizona, I'll bring my cowboy boots. We'll go hit the what's that country strip in Scottsdale? Whiskey Row?
Old Town?
Is that Old Town? Yeah, we'll do that. Let's go down there.
I don't know how country it is, but we'll make it country.
We'll make it country wherever we go.
We'll go hit Whiskey Row. Dirk Bentley, Whiskey Row.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm down for it.
Yeah. I like
let's transition here. I did have one other question here that I wanted to ask you, and my monitor just blanked. What the heck, man?
I got you with it.
So how do you... Okay.
Go for it.
Do it.
All right. How do you keep yourself in the groove? You start.
So how I keep myself in the groove. This was going to be my original question, but since you asked me, you go day in, day out. You find things that really like help you. Help you be the most successful day in and day out. Finding those things you want to check off during the morning. So for me, it's like getting up, making coffee in the morning, or going for a walk with the pups, things like that to really get me in the groove. Obviously, there are external stressors. Boss needs you to stay late, and therefore you're like extremely tired the next day. You're out on a travel trip. and now you're not at home anymore, and your schedule is off because you're 2 hours ahead or behind where you currently live. Just things like that, things that there's always going to be some sort of external factor that's going to throw you out of your routine.
Yeah.
The best way that I stay or work my hardest to stay in the groove is have 2 or 3. I'll retract that. Having at least one thing in throughout the day that's a constant. You can do that wherever you are. Having that and being able to concentrate on being able to achieve that every single day is the biggest thing for mentally speaking. You'd be okay. I just checked that off. Okay, great. This is like what I needed for the day, and now it's time to do the next thing. When I'm at home, I have like 2 or 3 things in the morning that I like to do, and then maintaining it is really just all about consistency. Staying in the groove is just all about the consistency and being able to prove to yourself day in and day out that you can stay consistent. So yeah, and it's been about formulas and trying to create that most optimized, person who is Jared. So yeah, that's how I kind of came to it. It was just a lot of trial and error and figuring it out. What about you?
Yeah, I think to your point, I want to bring up a few points. Obviously, finding that routine, right? Finding that thing that works for you. Finding that thing that can kind of get you going on a daily basis. So, like, I know for me, and I take a look at this a lot when it comes to my days off specifically. But like obviously, and like we'll wake up, we'll walk the dogs. Like for us, that's kind of like our morning, like our morning routine. We're gonna wake up, we're gonna do our thing, get ready, take the dogs out for a walk. Whether that's a short walk to the dog park, whether that's a long walk, 2-mile walk, whatever it might be, right? But we know that's kind of like our Kickstarter for the day. Finding those things are just going to get you kind of going, right? I think the biggest thing is to kind of get that ball rolling. Once you get that ball rolling, then, you continue to knock off the next thing off your list, and the next thing off your list, and the next thing. And so on. Next thing you know, it's like your day's over. You've knocked off everything on that you had to get done. So the big thing is just like, right, obviously staying consistent with that, finding that Kickstarter, getting that foot in the door in a sense, and just start moving. And you're going to be amazed how fast time flies. I mean, I look at this move to Arizona. I've been here for now almost 6 months. And like, that's crazy. Like, I mean, you look down at the clock and you're like, 2022 is almost over. It's almost 2023. It's like October just flew by. It's almost, I look down, next week is Thanksgiving. And then the week after that, it's December and you're getting into Christmas, and then it's going to be 2023. So obviously, it kind of comes back to that, being in the present is just like, right, making sure you're staying on your groove, kind of doing your thing, but obviously just make sure you stay in the present because you're going to realize how fast time flies by, and you're going to look back and you're like, wow, that went by so quick. And the other thing too, as well, is just obviously being able to adjust, to those curveballs. Something that I think is super, super important. And I think that it's very hard to learn, but it's something that if you can kind of master, it's going to be super important and it's going to help you grow a lot. And I think it's being able to adjust those kind of situations. I'm a big believer in control and believing in what you can control. If you can't control it, don't worry about it. Right? Those are the things that you don't spend, day and nights losing sleep over things that you can't control. But control what you can, because those are the factors in your life that are going to make the biggest impact. These other factors are going to make impacts, right? But you have no say, you have no do over that. So like I said, don't spend day and night worrying about that because you have no control. You have no reason to. But if you can control your little things that you can and you need to, and that you can control, it's going to all play a bigger impact in your day-to-day life.
What are some of the habits
that's kind of like when it comes to
it? What are some of the habits that you use to kind of help yourself with this conceptualizing some things that may not go your way? Is there a reflection that you do? Is this achieved through just conversation with, like Erilyn, for example? Like, how are you able to get through some of those things?
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to like situations, I'm a big believer in writing it down because when you write it down, you're going to visually see it. You're gonna write it down there, and it's like I use this as an example, right? Like you have the situation that's bugging you. You have a situation that's causing whatever hardship, anxiousness, angriness, anger. I don't know what I said. Angriness, anger, right? Like get down a piece of paper, one piece of paper, draw a line, things that you control, things you can't control. Like write these things down, because what you're going to realize is you're going to look and you're going to visually see, the different aspects of these. You're going to realize, okay, these are things I can't control, these are things I can't control. And it's just going to help you understand and process that situation better. Kind of the same things about like when you look at like, I'm not going to say like your problems, but like your issues, right? Like writing these things down, you're going to realize, is this really an issue? It's not really an issue. Right? It's just a situation that you're making it bigger to be. So I'm a big believer in writing it down, because you're going to visually see it. You're going to be able to visually kind of process it and understand it better.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, dude, I have a journal. Not necessarily do I write in it every day, but I do believe that it's beneficial for anyone to be able to put their thoughts down on paper. There's a guy. His name is Jim Quick. He's all about just mentality and the brain, and it's all about like recording what happens in your life and then rereading it, and that helps a lot with kind of going through and understanding what you went through or what you're going through and thinking about, and understanding, okay, like maybe this isn't anything that I need to worry about, or maybe this is something I need to focus in on a little bit more. It's just all about being mindful. It's all about, yeah, exactly. It's just all about being mindful, and knowing you. There's a lot of people that say like journaling is like for girls and all that stuff. It's not. It really isn't. And anyone that believes that should really have an open mind. It's really, really helpful, and it's helped a lot of people, and there's a reason why it does, and it has helped a lot. So I 10 out of 10 recommend anybody just listening to our podcast to, take 10, 15 minutes and reflect on your day, and do it for a week and see how you feel. If it doesn't do anything, okay, you tried it. But if it does, I'm super happy that we were able to help, So that's how I look at it.
Agreed.
But I mean, I think we're getting to that threshold where we're getting close to, for the episode. Do you have any final thoughts or anything that you want to add in, for this episode back?
Goals for a week. What are your goals?
Get my body healthy. That's the biggest thing. I want that quad to be fully 100% so I can get my miles in. And then I actually have a project right now. I have a 150-gallon galvanized horse trough in the backyard that I'm converting to a cold plunge right now. So actually getting started on that and getting some of the components for it, because I am going to get like a cooler for it and everything so it can circulate and filter the water. So I need, that's like one of the things that's on my mind that I gotta at least get the wheels moving towards. So those are my 2 goals for the week.
That's awesome. Cool, man. My goal is obviously to get healthy too as well. I'm obviously sick, so we all, just make sure I get my rest, making sure I'm recovering. Find that balance of like pushing myself to obviously, continue to work out and improve, but also understand that, if I push too hard, it can lead to just more sickness, I guess. So yeah, just kind of find that balance in a sense. So that's my big goal for this week. And then obviously get back in the groove, get back running. That's the goal.
Nice. I love it.
But yeah,
we're gonna get healthy, and we're gonna get kicking butt. That's what we're gonna do. We got a marathon, less than 75 days until the day. So it's game time, baby.
Oh yeah. Jeez. Quick. I'm gonna come back quick.
Yep. But one last thing I do want to say before we do log off. everybody, especially now as we get closer to the holidays, relationships and being with the people that you love is super, super important and highlighted during these times, especially Thanksgiving, Christmas, any sort of holiday that you do celebrate. So just make sure that you are enjoying the bonds that you are creating with your friends, with your family, the close loved ones that you do cherish. Very, very important. And do some sort of bonding activity with them, whether it's going for a jog, whether it's going for a hike, anything like that, to stay active, to stay lively with the people that you love. Very, very important. And I hope that maybe when you've listened to this and you find some inspiration to do this, let us know what you did. I'd love to hear.
All right, to that point, last question. You and
Yes.
Maddie got any plans for Thanksgiving? Any holiday festivities planned for next week?
Yeah, we're gonna have her family over at our house, and we're gonna cook a bird.
There you go.
And yeah, it's gonna, the pups are gonna be here. We're just gonna enjoy. We'll make it over to the parents as well for a little bit, just to visit and enjoy and give thanks to all the blessings and the happiness that we have, just with Maddie and myself, but also our entire family.
Awesome.
So super, super blessed. Very, very happy to where I am and what we're doing right now. So yeah, but what about you?
We're just gonna hang out here. I think my parents can't make it out. We can't go home just because Aaron's working. I gotta work on Thanksgiving and the next day too as well. So we'll be here for Thanksgiving. We got like a small little turkey breast we're gonna cook up, and just kind of hang out. And we'll go back for Christmas, so it'll be good.
Nice, good.
Make
good.
it. Our first Thanksgiving in Arizona, so it'll be fun.
Dang, that's awesome.
Oh yeah,
big things.
Celebrate the pups.
But yep, exactly. Be thankful for everything. But
oh yeah,
everyone, thank you so much for listening to Moving the Needle with Jared and Brett. It truly is an honor and blessing to be able to do this and just be creative with it. Creating that dialogue is super, super important. If you do like what our message is and, want to boost us up a bit, please give us a like, as well as a follow on our YouTube channel, as well as all the other channels that we do post on. And we'll hope to see you on the next video. Thank you.
Peace.